Alright, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to take a proper look at the Simsonn Plus X pedals, specifically the 2-pedal version with the base plate, and I'm also running them together with the VAM Pro haptic reactors. And as you know, I've already reviewed the Simsonn Pro X Ultra earlier, so this isn't about rehashing everything from scratch. This is more about answering a very simple question. Do you get the same driving performance for a lot less money? And after quite a lot of driving, tweaking and comparing back and forth, the short answer is yes, but with some setups required. And let's start with pricing, just to set expectations. The Simsonn Plus X pedals come in at roughly 220 euros for the pedals themselves. And if you add the VAM Pro haptic reactors, you're looking at around 100 euros more, depending on where you buy them. Even fully loaded, you're still far below what many mid-range and high-end pedal sets cost. Now in the Simsonn lineup, the Plus X sits just below the Pro X Ultra. The Ultra is their flagship model that has RGB lighting, more advanced control unit and adjustable hydraulic damper. The Plus X skips the RGB and some of the electronics, but the important parts essentially stays the same. The pedal mechanics, elastomers, load cell and the overall construction. That's why these pedals punch so far above their price, just like the Pro X ones did as well. And out of the box, the setup experience is very similar to the Pro X Ultra. And I'll be honest, my first impression was the same as before. Okay, I see why they cost what they cost. Yet this time, I wasn't really worried. The brake especially felt a bit too soft and a bit too spongy when I first tried it. And if you stop there, you might just think, these pedals are okay, if even. But once again, these pedals really come together well after a proper setup session. I switched to the blue elastomers, removed one of the three and replaced it with the included plastic spacers. That immediately reduced the spongy feel and it increased the resistance. After that change, the brake felt much more pressure-based, more controlled and far more consistent, like the Pro X one did. And this is where the driving feel really deserves some time. Once dialed in, the brake is extremely consistent. Trail braking feels predictable, and more importantly, it feels repeatable for someone like me just getting the hang of it. You can hit the same braking point lap after lap without guessing where the pedal is. The load cell gives you a very clear sense on how much pressure you're applying, and the elastomer stack, once tuned, gives enough travel to modulate without feeling vague. This isn't a brake that forces you to adapt to it in a weird way. Instead, it lets you focus on driving. The throttle is smooth, linear, and very easy to control mid-corner. It's especially good for balancing the car on corner exit, where small inputs actually matter. There's no notchiness, no real dead zones, just clean input. And what I really enjoy is when you add the VAM Pro haptic reactors. Running them through SimHub is honestly fantastic. ABS feedback, wheel lock, traction loss, you feel it immediately, and it adds information that the force feedback alone doesn't always communicate clearly. Or you're fully occupied with not going off the road, that the vibrations in your hand might not help your brain to comprehend what's actually happening. Under heavy braking, the haptics let you feel the threshold right before the lockup, so over a long stint, that makes a difference in consistency and reliability for you. And I'll say this clearly though, I was not very impressed with the haptics when running them through Simsonn's native software. They work, but they don't shine there. And that is the exact same verdict I gave them the last time as well in the Pro X review. Through SimHub, however, they completely transform the experience. Once dialed in, you start relying on them without even thinking about it. In terms of pure driving feel, the Plus X pedals, once set up properly, feel almost identical to the Pro X Ultra. The lack of RGB or the simpler electronics doesn't affect lap times, control or confidence in any meaningful way, if I'm going to be honest. This is very much a pedal set that rewards people who are willing to spend the time tuning them. If you bolt them on and never touch them again, you'll think they're decent, if even that to be honest, but if you actually tune them, they become really good. And before wrapping things up, let's quickly go through some of the pros and cons of the Simsonn Plus X pedals, starting with the positives in a normal fashion. I would say that the biggest pro is value. For the price they cost, the level of control that you get is very impressive. The brake, once tuned, is consistent, predictable, and confidence-inspiring. The throttle is smooth and it's easy to modulate. The elastomer system is easy to work and it encourages experimentation because of the quick change system. The pedals feel solid, well built and capable of handling aggressive driving. The VAM Pro haptics, especially through SimHub, is a huge upgrade, and overall the pedals deliver performance that competes with much more expensive sets like the Housingfeld Pro that I also spoke about in the last video. Now for the cons, because there are a few things to be aware of. First, setup takes time. Out of the box, the brake will not feel amazing for everyone, probably not for the most people to be honest. You need to be willing to adjust elastomers and spacers and experiment to get the best result. Second, the haptics really only work well through SimHub. If you plan to rely on the native software only, you won't get a very good experience. It will be soft, numb, and kind of buggy. Third, long-term durability is still something I prefer to judge over time. They feel solid, but this is something I always keep my eye on. And finally, if you want all the bells and whistles like RGB and advanced amp tuning, that's where the Pro X Ultra still has an edge over these. So, who are these pedals for? Well, the Simsonn Plus X pedals are ideal if you want maximum performance but you're on a tight budget and don't want to spend 600 plus or sometimes even more. They're great if you enjoy tweaking and dialing in your setup. They're excellent for drivers who care about consistency and braking confidence. And one extra plus is if you run the haptics through SimHub, that is a really big win for these ones. If you want something that feels perfect straight out of the box with zero setup, these might not be for you. But if you're willing to put in some work, they will reward you massively. Overall, I still stand by this. The Simsonn Plus X are one of the pedal sets with the best bang for buck right now. Once set up properly, they deliver control and feel that easily rivals pedals costing much more. I can genuinely recommend them, and even though I got these pedals to review, I'm not making any money on affiliate links or anything from this video. One thing to have in mind, I had one of my viewers reaching out to me. He had some issues getting customer service, so I reached out to Simsonn to kind of ask what they were doing, and straight away they actually helped the customers. They were saying that there was a lot of backlog since Black Friday and Christmas sales, so I'll give them the benefit of a doubt. Have that in mind that sometimes customer service takes a little bit longer, but they actually did come through when we pointed this out to them. So if you got questions about setup of the pedals, elastomers, or haptic tuning, drop them in the comments. And if you're already running the Simsonn pedals, I'd love to hear how you set up yours and how they keep up over time. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.